Hey, it's Katie, and welcome back to my booktube channel. I am super excited for summertime, so today I figured that I would do the summer book tag, and I actually found this on Jessie the Reader's channel. I'm pretty sure it was probably years ago because most of my video ideas come from years ago when I was just watching booktube, but I definitely saw this on his channel, and I tried to track down the original video, but I don't think that channel exists anymore. So if you guys do know who created this, you can definitely link their stuff below. I really tried to find it and I couldn't, so I'm just gonna link Jessie's video. But I am so excited. I love doing book tags because it makes me think about the books I've read in a different way, and it's also a fun way for me to talk about different books for you guys, and I am just so excited. So I have all of the prompts in my little journal, so if you see me looking down, that's why. But there are about 9 prompts, so let's just jump into it. So the first prompt is lemonade. Pick a book that started off bitter but got better. And the first book that popped in my head was Crush by Tracy Wolff, which is the second book in the Crave series. I recently read all 3 books in the Crave series that are out so far. I am anxiously awaiting the 4th one that's coming out later this year. But I would say the second one definitely fits this prompt, and not in the way you might think. To me, it was just a very slow start. It took me like 100 to 200 pages to really get into the second book, and so it definitely was something I wasn't sure if I was enjoying, but once it hooked me, like a couple hundred pages in, I couldn't put it down, and I'm definitely obsessed with that book and the book that came after that. So it definitely got a lot better. And that's not to say that this book was bad at the beginning, it just was kind of slow for me. So that's why I would say the beginning was kind of bitter, and it definitely would be my lemonade prompt. Next, we have Golden Sun. Pick a book that made you smile beyond compare. And I would definitely have to say Well Met and Well Played by Jen DeLuca. This is definitely one of my favorite series, and it's just so adorable. For those of you that don't know, it takes place at a Renaissance fair, and I love the characters. They definitely feel like old friends. Like, I really enjoyed Well Met, but reading Well Played, which is the companion novel, I felt like I was, hanging out with old friends again, and I love the setting so much. I love the characters. I'm just in love with every aspect of that series, and Jen DeLuca's writing is so amazing, and I can never stop smiling when I read those books, so I definitely would have to say those for this prompt, and I cannot wait for the next companion novel. I think it's called Well Matched, which is coming out this fall, and I need to get my hands on it as soon as possible. After that, we have Tropical Flowers. Pick a book set in a foreign country. And because I've been thinking about a lot of summery things, the book that pops in my head first is Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. And this one is set in Italy, and I don't really know how to explain it too well, but basically there's this girl who, as her mother's last dying wish, she was told to go spend some time in Italy with her estranged father, and so she goes to spend time with this man that she never even knew existed, and while she's there, somebody gives her this journal that used to be her mother's from when her mother spent time in Italy, and so you get to see our main character read her mother's journal and experience the same adventures her mother was talking about, and it's just so meaningful and so fun, and it definitely makes me want to travel to Italy, so I would definitely recommend that. If you're looking for a wanderlustful read, you should definitely add this one to your TBR. The next one is Tree Shade. Pick a book in which a mysterious or shady character was introduced. And this one was actually a lot harder for me to figure out than I was expecting, because so many of my favorite books have like morally gray characters, but for some reason when I first read this prompt, I thought it had to be like a villain or somebody who did something to betray all of my favorite characters. But then I really thought about it, and I figured I would just pick somebody that I wasn't sure if they were trustworthy, and they definitely were mysterious, so I decided to pick Wrath from Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco, which I read in January of this year, and you've probably heard me talk about already because it is one of my favorite books, and I love Carrie Maniscalco's writing. The sequel is coming out later this year, and I cannot wait. I feel like that's what I've said about so many of these, but I've read a lot of my favorite series this year, and I am obsessed with all of them. But basically, Wrath is one of the wicked princes of hell, and he is trying to help our main character Amelia figure out who killed her sister, and she's not sure if she can trust him because growing up she's always been warned against any of the wicked princes of hell. So even though he says that he's on her side, she doesn't know if she can trust him, and honestly, as a reader, I didn't know if I could trust him either, but I am obsessed with him as a character. I think he is so cool, but I would definitely say that he's mysterious and kind of shady. Up next, we have Beach Sand. Pick a book that was grainy and barely developed. And honestly, the plot is not something I really pay attention to usually. There's so many other things that I look for before I look for the plot, so this one was really hard for me to figure out. I usually always look for a great romance. I love the characters, and I definitely gravitate toward character-driven stories more than plot-driven stories, so I don't know if I'm qualified to really judge a book for this, but the only one that popped in my head was Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, which is the second book in the Shadow and Bone series in the Grishaverse, and I definitely still enjoyed this book, but I would definitely say the only thing going for it were the characters that were introduced. I don't think a lot happened plot-wise. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for any of you who haven't read this series, but not a lot really happened. And even after reading the whole book, I kind of sat there and I was like, what really happened in this book? I have no idea. We definitely met some of my favorite characters in that book, but not a lot happened plot-wise, so I'm just going to kind of call that one out. After that, we have Green Grass. Pick a character or characters that were full of life, making you smile. And I always have to go for the Caraval series. I love all those characters, but especially Tella. We see a lot of her in Legendary and Finale, which are the second and third books in the series, and she is probably one of my favorite characters of all time. Like, if I had to choose to spend time with some characters, she would definitely be on that list. I think she is just so fun, and she's so bold and is always looking for adventure, and I love the way she lives her life. So just seeing her interact with people and the way that she goes about her daily life just always makes me smile, and I would definitely love to spend time with Tella. I think we would definitely be good friends. The next one is Watermelon. Pick a book that had some juicy secrets. And I'm just going to stick to that theme and go with the Caraval series again. Obviously, I cannot tell you what the juicy secrets were, but there were some very big plot twists that I would say are very juicy secrets. Some of them I did see coming, but that doesn't make them any less juicy. I mean, the other characters were still very surprised. So I would say there's definitely a few pivotal moments that could be considered juicy secrets. So if you haven't read the series already, please go ahead and read it. It's obviously one of my favorites. I talk about it nonstop. Also, the series is by Stephanie Garber. I've mentioned it a few times in this video, and I don't know if I said it's the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. And some more promo, because I keep promoting my favorite series, my favorite books, but Stephanie Garber is coming out with another book. It's part of a different series. It's the first book in a different series, but it takes place in the same world as Caraval. And that book is called Once Upon a Broken Heart. That comes out in September, so another one I cannot wait to get my hands on. I've actually pre-ordered this one, and that's the first book I've ever pre-ordered. Up next, we have Sun Hat. Pick a book that had a vast universe or setting. And the first thing that comes to mind is any of the Grishaverse. I feel like the Shadow and Bone series and the Six of Crows duology, that entire world is so complex and so huge that even after reading both of those series and watching the Shadow and Bone show on Netflix, I still don't feel like I fully comprehend the world. I feel like I could definitely reread the series a few times and keep learning more and more about it. So that's probably the biggest world that I've ever read about. Last but not least, we have Barbecue. Pick a book in which a character is portrayed as a hunk. And this prompt definitely makes me laugh. I feel like there's probably a good amount of books where the main guy is portrayed as a hunk. And for some reason, the first one that popped in my head was the main guy, whose name I cannot remember, from Tools of Engagement by Tessa Bailey. I read that book last month and I really enjoyed it, but I feel like the only thing I can remember about the male love interest is the fact that he was definitely like a hunk. I feel like that was, I don't want to say his main personality trait because that's not true. I definitely enjoyed him as a character, but I feel like the main thing he had going for him for the first like 100 pages of that book was just kind of his looks and his body. And so he was definitely kind of portrayed as like this hunk of meat that girls fawned over and as this player. So he's definitely the first one I think of because for a while that was kind of like the only substance he had, which sounds horrible. I really did enjoy that book. So I definitely think you should still read it if you want to, but I would say he's definitely portrayed as just a hunk. Well, that is the end of the summer book tag. Hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the books that I put for these prompts. I would love to know what books you thought of when I read these prompts. Please let me know in the comments, and also please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, please click the notification bell so you know when I upload next. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you in my next video.